up from my nap and that guy's here now. I had no idea he was coming. It was a nice little surprise. So.
Surprise.
We're going herping. We are in for another wet one out here. It's probably going to be a mostly amphibian night tonight, but that's okay because we haven't done too much with the local amphibians. So we're going to go out and try to look for snakes, and if it's just soaking wet and cold, we'll probably resort to checking out some frog ponds and seeing what we can turn up. All right, we found an area that's not soaking wet, so hopefully we'll be able to get into some snakes out here, and then we might go do some amphibian stuff later. So we're going to get to it, and I will let you guys know what we find. Guys, we found a glossy snake to start out the night. Look at this guy. Not as big as the one that we saw last night that you guys will not have seen yet. This guy is zooming around. Look at him go. All right, well, that is a good first snake of the night. For some reason, this thing is doing some sort of death feigning, which I've never seen with glossies. He's pretty much just not moving at all, which is really weird to see because normally these guys never stop moving. So I'm just gonna go put him in the grass on the side of the road, make sure he is safe, and we're gonna get back to it. But pretty good first snake of the night, if you ask me. Handsome glossy snake. Well, there is a big rough green snake. Steven's got another one just a little bit down the road, so we're gonna go look at his too. But next snake of the night. This time in an area where they're pretty common though.
Her head's right here hanging down. Your face.
Oh yeah. Really cool. Rough green snake. Our next snake of the night. We're just gonna leave this girl to it, go get a quick look at the one Steven found, and keep on shining. It's weird how they have a bluish tint out here. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, the one that we found the first time did too.
Yeah. It's like the big females have it. The wind picked up quite a bit, but here is a look at the rough green Steven spotted right down the road from the one I did. So number 2 for the night right here. We just let him crawl away without messing with him too much.
Yeah, they are.
Here's another one. This one's just chilling, much smaller than the other two. Probably a little male. The other ones look like big females. These guys are just around here, I guess. It's weird considering how many times we shine this cut. A lot of times with rough greens, you start getting into them and you notice they're everywhere, which is pretty cool to just realize they were here this whole time and we probably just weren't paying close enough attention. But we're just gonna leave that guy right there. Well, there's our next snake of the night. Nice big suboc on the cut. Not so, I think this actually might be the first suboc we've seen on a cut this year. All right, well, we're just gonna leave that guy to it. Cool to see one actually out in habitat rather than on the road though. This one's not nearly as pretty as some of the ones we have seen lately, so we're not gonna mess with him. Just let him keep cruising. But how's it going, buddy? Here's another one of these. This is a baby glossy snake. I don't know why these guys are so active recently, but they are. This is the first baby we've seen this season. It was crawling rapidly towards Sophia, and now back to me. This guy is just zooming around. All right, we're gonna get him off the road. These guys actually look quite a bit different when they're juveniles. They just look a lot derpier for some reason. I can't really put my finger on why, but really a pretty neat looking snake all around. And I think this is probably a yearling, so they're a lot smaller than that when they hatch out. Movement's been kind of meh tonight, but we're finding snakes. It's better than it was 2 weeks ago, so I'm just gonna move this guy off the road and we're gonna keep at it. All right, here's our next snake of the night. Another incidental cruise. A nice little Emery's rat, but interesting looking snake nonetheless. We're just gonna let him keep going off the road. We're heading to our next cut we're gonna shine, where we're actually targeting rough green snakes in a county we've never seen them before. So we're just gonna let this guy keep crawling. Really cool looking Emery eye. So we pulled off to look at a DOR prairie rattlesnake. Sorry, I'm eating Skittles. Steven hears a weird noise and he says, nope, that was a weird sounding animal. Turns out it was a calling, barking frog. We drive up the road a little bit and sure enough, right there, it's one of the weirdest frogs in the United States. That is a barking frog. Crawgaster, a genus that is pretty diverse and widespread in South. Are they in South America too or just Central America?
I don't know how far they go.
They're really diverse further south, but here in the United States, Crawgaster augusti is the only described species currently. So we can hear these guys calling in the distance. Steven actually heard them calling while we were stopped looking at a dead rattlesnake. And that was what made us realize, hey, these things might actually be out tonight. And initially, we were kind of thinking about coming up here earlier in the night, but we were going to try to find some snakes first. And that's exactly what we did. And sure enough, it panned out perfectly. What a great way to highlight the night if we don't see anything else. It's getting pretty late, but I mean, that pretty much makes the night. There's not really any other frogs in this area that are particularly uncommon. So this is really the top of the amphibian list, other than maybe tiger salamanders, which are obviously pretty common in other places. So they're just so unlike any other frogs we have here in the US. So cool. Anyways, we're just gonna let this guy go. Maybe we'll see another one. Maybe we'll see some snakes. We're gonna keep at it, but that is definitely a great way to highlight the night. All right, here's another species for the diversity tally who's just run into this bush. Let me see if I can pull this guy out real quick. Look at him. Anyways, this guy is a Texas toad who is currently just going ballistic, trying to escape, so we're gonna let him do just that, but I figured I would stop and show him to you, and Graham hadn't seen one yet, so lifer for Graham and another species for a really diverse night. Good evening, everyone. It is the next night, and before I even had a chance to run an intro, here's our first snake. That is a really handsome checkered garter, but really pretty looking snake all around. I imagine that tonight's going to be quite garter snaky. You can see there's termites, and they're absolutely everywhere. So I'm just going to let this guy get off the road and not get absolutely swarmed by these termites. But hopefully there will be plenty more snakes to come, so.
He is good, dude. Oh my God.
There's our next herp of the night, a beautiful reticulated gecko. Look at that. It is absolutely soaked out here, and really, really humid, really, really warm. Feels like it could have potential to be a really good night, so we're just gonna try to keep this moving. Beautiful reticulated gecko is our next find with a complete tail. And unsurprisingly, big night snake. I'm sure we're gonna be seeing plenty of these, so we're gonna keep it moving, but our 3 millionth night snake of the trip. Very nice. This one's actually pretty big and really faded in pattern. And here's a nice blacktail. Really pretty. Look at that. Really good looking snake. I thought that was going to be a lep for a second.
Yeah. He does not want anything to do with us. He just wants to go on his way and hopefully find something to eat.
And about 100 yards past the blacktail, we have a baby suboc. Snakes are moving like crazy tonight, so we're just going to try to get as many as we can. There's a thunderstorm bearing down on us in an area that has gotten a lot of rain. Just couldn't be much better weather, so we're going to keep moving and try to either get a lyre snake or a lep or one of our big targets, but really, really cool little baby suboc. All right, guys, we have a dry stretch of habitat. It's pretty soaked out here tonight. There are a lot of snakes moving where it's dry, but where it's soaked, it seems dead. So we're going to shine around in this drier stuff. Still plenty of moisture here, just not absolutely soaked, which is preferable to me. So we're going to see if we can turn up anything on foot. Well, the storm is absolutely going crazy, so we're getting out of here before any flooding happens. But there's another night snake. Only a couple of these so far. I was expecting more, but we're going to keep at it in hopefully a different area that's a little bit less angry, because, I mean, the stuff we just drove through was pretty sketchy, so. All right, guys, well, there's our next find of the night. This is a big blind snake, almost certainly a Trans-Pecos blind snake. A lot of the ones I see out here that are this big are Trans-Pecos, but you can see size comparison. He's probably maybe just under a foot long, something like that. A really cool looking snake, and definitely a lot cooler than the little dinky ones in my opinion, just because he actually looks like a snake and not an earthworm. But really cool looking, probably a Trans-Pecos blind snake. I will double check and make sure, but really cool. We're just gonna let this guy keep on crawling. The weather is being very scary right now. This is what I should show. It's booming out there. So much rain coming down. So whenever it's raining in the desert, and even some places that aren't the desert, there's always a risk of flash flooding. But this area we were in today is one of the relatively few places we regularly go to in West Texas where it can be a real issue even if there's not that much rain. And this night there just happened to be that much rain and then about 10 times more. It was raining so much, so fast out of nowhere that we just decided it was in our best interest to leave. And we definitely got out of there right on time because we went back the next day and there were giant boulders in the road and tons of evidence that there was pretty extreme flash flooding going on where we were trying to herp. But it ended up being a pretty good night, and driving home during this storm was just insane. There was so much water on the road, even in places where there's not actually a low water crossing. Just completely flat areas out in the lower part of the desert that were flooding onto the road. So there was just an absurd amount of rain, and I'm glad we got out of there when we did. But we did find at least a few things at the end of the night, and this amount of precipitation in the desert is always a great thing for herping. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up here. The storm was pretty crazy, and it was a great way to end the video, I think, just with all the crazy lightning and rain. I wish I would have taken more time to get more video of the flood, but our first interest was safety, so we didn't stop much. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.